samsara is defined and described in various ways. The most traditional definition is that it refers to existence within the continuous cycle of birth and death and suffering.
You might want to speak up.
So this is the opposite of nirvana, which is the liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and suffering. And samsara can also be described as living by the bounds of the chains of desire and aversion, or our likes and dislikes. And this seems to be the most frequent way that we describe it in our practice. I recently finished reading a book by Shohaku Okumura, and it's his book on the commentary of Dogen's Mountains and Waters Sutra from the Shobo Genzo. And I'd like to read one of Okumura Roshi's comments to one of Dogen's verses. It says, "We naturally see each thing from my point of view. Otherwise, we cannot see it at all. This is the origin of dichotomy. And then we create even more separations. We separate things we want from things we don't, the desirable from the undesirable, and the valuable from the worthless. Then we want to get this side and push away that side. That's how we create samsara. We try to live on one side alone. Sometimes we succeed and are temporarily happy, but more often we fail and then we suffer. There are many things we don't want or value, and we try to escape them. But even though we escape temporarily, they follow us somehow. Thus, our life becomes chasing and escaping things. This is samsara." So that's the end of Shohaku's quote. So it was this description of samsara as chasing and escaping that caught my attention. I realized this is not much different than desire and aversion or likes and dislikes, but it was different enough that since I read it, I've made a shift in looking at my own life from a perspective of chasing and escaping. It's a subtle difference, but it had some potency to me. So I'd like to suggest this as something to be mindful of in your own lives. Notice when you are chasing or trying to escape something. Katagiri Roshi said, "We are always groping for or chasing something, or we are always trying to push something away. When we do this, we are making noise. I want this. I want to do this. I like this. Or I can't wait to get out of here. I can't stand this. Or I wish this would end. Yak, yak, yak. Like a clucking chicken, we go on like this. The noise we make interferes with experiencing the moment as it really is, and may hide from our eyes an unexpected jewel contained in that moment. On the other hand, a quiet mind, being with the moment, neither chasing nor escaping, is, as Katagiri says, sometimes very hard to do, but it is good medicine." As I've been trying to be mindful of my own chasing and escaping, sometimes it seems pretty easy to identify what I'm chasing or trying to escape from. But at other times, and this may actually be most of the time, I can feel the unease of chasing or escaping running through me, but I question whether I can specifically identify what's causing it. What I think I identify as a cause may just be a surface manifestation of something much deeper. What exactly am I chasing after? Or what exactly am I trying to escape from? This mystery in pinning down a root cause has actually made it an interesting question for me, almost very koan-like. Maybe this is a form of that deepest dukkha or suffering that the Buddha was talking about in the First Noble Truth and what characterizes samsara. And then a question that comes to my mind is, am I chasing something I already have, but I'm so busy chasing it that it prevents me from experiencing it, so I think I don't have it, and I chase even more. And this cycle goes on and on. You know, I'm not talking about material things here. I'm talking about our deeper desires, such as peace, wholeness, fulfillment, and relationships. Chasing usually results in pushing the thing farther away rather than bringing it closer. There's a few lines in the Zen poem, the Shin Shin Ming, or Trust in Mind, that we quote a lot, that speak to this. And these lines say, hurrying, they fall behind. Clinging, they go too far. Sure to take a wrong turn. Just let it be. So Okamura Roshi has commentary applicable to this in his book on Dogen's Mountains and Water Sutra. And he's speaking specifically about the Dharma body of the Buddha, the Dharmakaya, but I think it can be applied more broadly. He says, when we stop fishing, the golden fish comes up. What is this golden fish? The Dharma body of Buddha. In order to fish the Dharma body, we should stop fishing, stop hooking. Then the golden fish appears. The Dharmakaya manifests itself when we stop fishing. This is the way we fish the Dharmakaya. So these phrases suggest that we catch the true fish by not fishing. We truly succeed when we stop trying. We find what we truly seek when we stop seeking. And we fulfill our longing when our longing ceases. These all point to the root of what the word nirvana means, and that is to extinguish. This all seems very countercultural, but it is said that following the Buddha way is like swimming upstream against the current. With regards to escaping, I've asked myself, am I trying to escape something that's not really there? Is it just something I made up in the first place? Well, since I've really started looking at this, I think I do this quite a bit. One of the most common things I seem to do is try to escape from the expectations I think other people put on me. But in reality, the other people are not putting those expectations on me at all. I'm putting them on myself. I'm trying to escape from imaginary things, or I'm living in a ghost cave, to use the metaphor from the koans. These ghosts can trigger strong emotions if we don't realize what they truly are. If we can see that they are just empty imaginations, it can help us remain calm. There's a term that Dogen uses in his Genjo Koan essay, and that Shohaku uses in his commentaries, and that term is Dharma position. I don't know if I fully understand this term as Dogen intended, but it's a term I just naturally incorporated into my own reflections on chasing and escaping. As of this very moment, right here, right now, we all exist in our own unique Dharma position, which includes all of the conditions and circumstances of our lives. It is our thusness in this present moment. In Dogen's writings, he teaches about Dharma positions using the extremes of life and death. Here's an excerpt from his essay on life and death. He says, in life, there is nothing other than life. In death, there is nothing other than death. Therefore, when life comes, just live. When death comes, just die. Neither avoid them nor desire them. So I'd like to expand this and say, in this current Dharma position, there is nothing other than this Dharma position. Therefore, when in this Dharma position, just be in this Dharma position. Neither try to escape from this Dharma position or chase after another Dharma position. In my reflections on my own chasing and escaping, I feel like I apply chasing and escaping to Dharma positions. Rather than accepting and living fully in the Dharma position I'm currently in, which includes everything that comes with it, all my likes and dislikes, sometimes I feel like I'm trying to escape from it. And if I'm trying to escape from one thing, it naturally seems to imply that I'm chasing after something else. I might be chasing what I imagine to be a future Dharma position, but in reality, I'm chasing after just an imagination, because what I'm chasing may or may not have any subsequent reality at all. Or what I consider particularly interesting is I may be chasing a past Dharma position. I may be chasing a past period of my life that I really liked and want to return to. This seems like an odd thing. It's chasing something backwards. My hunch is that maybe we do this a little more often as we get older. So the teaching from both Dogen and Shohaku is that we should live fully in our current Dharma position. And if we live fully in our current Dharma position, the life force that's kindled when we do this will naturally lead us to where we are to go next, to our next Dharma position. In his commentary on Dogen's Genjo Koan, Shohaku says this is a quote: "A seed is in the Dharma position of a seed and has its own past and future. Since a seed has the potential for life, it has the power to negate its current Dharma position when it encounters appropriate conditions for growth. When it sprouts, it becomes something other than a seed. In other words, when a seed fully functions as a seed according to its own life force, it negates itself by becoming something else. The nature of the seed is that it is not bound to being a seed. Human life is the same as this. When a baby fully expresses its life force, it negates babyhood and becomes an adolescent. That is the functional expression of the life force as a baby. Everything has this life force which negates itself and changes into something else. This is the meaning of the statement that everything is empty of a permanent self-nature." So that's the end of Shohaku's quote. So when we cease chasing and escaping and fully express our life force in our current Dharma position, our current Dharma position will eventually be negated and we will transform into our next Dharma position. And this will just happen naturally. Our task is not to focus on the transformation, but rather to express fully our current Dharma position. The transformation will then happen on its own. Richard Rohr teaches that whatever we don't transform, we will likely transmit. In situations in which we are suffering, if we constantly try to escape our suffering and chase after something else, chances are we will transmit our suffering to others. On the other hand, if we try to fully express our life force within the midst of our suffering, we will transform it. In Dogen's Mountains and Water Sutra, he speaks of the mountain way of life. Dogen says the mountain expresses two virtues. The first is that the mountain is still, stable, and solid. The second is that it is constantly walking, moving. Walking and movement express themselves on the mountain in the forms of the rivers and streams, all the flowers and trees and grasses, and all the animals. And we also now know that mountains walk through geologic time. They rise up, abide for millions of years, but then eventually crumble and erode away. The mountain way of life is an example of how we should live our lives. The mountain standing still teaches us that we should rest within and fully manifest our current Dharma position. The mountain walking teaches us that our movement and transformation through our life will naturally happen as a result of us fully expressing our current Dharma position. And finally, it teaches us that we cannot cling to our Dharma positions, neither past nor present. We cannot obstruct the natural flow of walking that will eventually move us to our next Dharma position. So being peacefully still, yet always vigorously walking, resting within our current Dharma position, and yet constantly moving, we have to see and manifest both sides with no chasing or escaping. This is the mountain way of life.